it's Hope at Crafty Hope, and I am going to play along with the Seek, Gather, Create challenge. I needed something black, something metal, a feather, and some thread. I'm going to work on this oval wood board that I got at the Dollar Tree. I don't know when. I found it in my stash and was like, hey, that's what I'm going to work on. So I'm going to start by clipping off the cord that's on there. I didn't really care for that. I had another idea for that. I'm going to tell you more about this challenge in just a second. Let me tell you what I'm doing first. I decided to go ahead and sand the edges of this board, front and back, just a little bit. It came from the Dollar Tree. It seemed to have some splintery edges, and I kind of didn't want that. So I cleaned it up a little bit with just a sanding block, also from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to start by adding a couple layers of gesso onto the board just to get me a nice blank surface. Yeah, and to kind of make sure anything I put down doesn't just soak straight into that board. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you that the Seek, Gather, Create challenge is a challenge. I am on Instagram, I believe. I saw it on Lisa Goddard's site, or her Instagram page, and she is collaborating with Tina, Laura, and Melanie. I will have links to all of their Instagrams, along with, I know Lisa's already revealed her art project. I haven't watched it yet, though. I didn't want to spoil anything before I got mine up. So and the Seek, Gather, Create challenge is they are giving you 4 items, the 4 I told you about, which was something black, something metal, a feather, and some thread. And combine, go out, find those things, and combine them in some kind of art project. So, this is my art project for it. I'm really excited about this. After ICAD, I kind of didn't want to do another daily challenge, but I was hoping to find a challenge, and so this is a weekly one, I believe. I don't know how many weeks they're going to do it, but this is week 1 of their Seek, Gather, Create challenge. And we'll see how often I play along. I just kind of wanted to. I liked the 4 items I saw listed, thought it sounded like fun, so I did it, and I kind of am in love with what I made. So, as I do with everything, I am starting with a bit of collage. A lot of the collage pieces I'm adding here are these little assemblage bundles that I kind of learned to do from Amy Bishop, who's Amy I Reel on Instagram. I will also link to her, and if I can find the video where she shows, I think it may be actually a collection of videos where she shows how to make these little like assemblage paper things that she uses for collage. But I dug those out of my box and decided to stick them down. I probably should have used some gel medium to stick them down and not just my Uhu glue stick, since I am going onto that wood board, and these are fairly thick little stacks of paper. But it was I was far too along in the process to worry with it. So I went ahead and just kept at it. So I've got those stacks, but I've also got this thin typing paper here. I think that's probably some of the paper from a haul of papers from the 40s from a local railroad company. I found, a big box of papers from a railroad company a couple months back. And then I'm sticking down some of this drywall joint tape. I love this stuff. It is fabulous for creating texture. I think I'm going to put down a couple more things out of my stash. I've got some dictionary paper, which is one of my absolute favorite things. And yeah. So I am actually recording this the day before I'm going to put this video up, which is crazy for me, y'all. I'm desperately trying to get my iCAD shared with y'all because I really enjoyed the process this year and a lot of what I made. And so I've actually got I'm trying to think, 5. This will be my 5th video this week to put up. So crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, that is some instant coffee that I mix up with some water into a spray bottle, and I'm spraying that on there and moving around. Y'all, I just saw this in a video from, I think it was Lisa Young, I think. And I was like, that is genius. Why have I never thought to do this before? So, yeah, I kind of am loving my little spray bottle of coffee. It's fabulous. Thank you, Lisa. um, I wanted to put down some more gesso to kind of push everything back, but it was way too wet with that coffee sprayed on there, and I think I put some water down. So I tried that first, and now I'm going to rub over some gesso. And then I'm going to decide that's just not quite enough gesso. um, yeah, if you ever watch any of Lisa's videos, you'll know that she does this beautiful job of um, putting down layers of color and gesso or white paint and giving this really dreamy effect to it. And I've been inspired by Lisa several times in that manner. So I really am, that's exactly what I'm doing is, I've got those papers down that have some color on it and then the coffee, and then I'm going to cover a lot of it up with gesso. So I've sped this up pretty fast. I think it's 4 times speed just because it's just me putting down a bunch of gesso. I looked in my viewfinder for a lot of this to kind of see what spots. I wanted this to flow a little bit, like it feel a little more natural. I wanted all of the edges of the collage bits to meld, and so I was trying to use the gesso to do that for me. So and like I said, I'm looking in the viewfinder, and any of them that seem to be popping out too much, I was covering up. So I think that's a silhouette of Abraham Lincoln over there. I covered him up a little bit. So I finally have all the gesso down I thought I wanted. And now I'm going to start bringing in some of the elements that they mentioned. So for black, I have this, I think it's called creepy cloth. It's something you get at the Dollar Tree during Halloween. It's like the spider webby stuff. It's kind of like a net. But as soon as I saw the black prompt, I knew I wanted to use this. I hadn't used it before, but I had it. That feather there is a hobby craft feather. I've been using them to make something for a friend of mine, and actually I was going to go get one of my found feathers from either one of my chickens or something in the yard, but I've been working with those craft feathers and was like, oh my gosh, why don't I just use this instead of, something I find a little more precious. So yeah, I'm using that craft feather, which I think is really kind of cool anyway. I love the polka dots on it. Now I'm going to add in a little bit of color. That is Americana acrylic paint in sea glass, and it's become one of my favorite colors lately. I say that about every color, don't I? If it's a shade of blue, it's probably one of my favorites. But yeah, so I'm putting that sea glass in, but I kind of wanted something that went a little bit dark, just like the feather. So I'm bringing in a little bit of desert turquoise, but I'm doling it out a little bit, mixing it with some of the gesso and some of that sea glass so it's not the brightest thing on this this board. I wanted that to be the feather. So this is getting watered down a little so I can spread it, and yeah, so I'm using my finger just to kind of spread it out a little bit. And for some reason, I felt like working along the edges a little bit more. I don't know what was up with that. I think in my head, I knew I was going to put that feather in some kind of assemblage stack kind of in the middle. So I didn't really work a whole lot in the middle. So yeah, I'm just adding little touches of color. I want to thank Lisa for putting this challenge out there along with Tina, Laura, and Melanie. I hope they don't mind that I'm playing along with my own video, but I kind of wanted a video that wasn't an iCAD. So I took the challenge and ran with it. I have been playing with my Stabilo quite a bit. I think that was what I got from Lisa's video mostly, was she was using not Lisa Goddard, Lisa Young, I think, is that right? she did a whole, I don't know, she's doing a series on different ways she uses her Stabilo. And so I had to bring Stabilo into this. And so again, I'm working along the edges. I really wanted the Stabilo just kind of watered down and pulled out to help highlight some of the texture that the different layers of papers that are in there. That's, it really does a good job getting along some of the little cracks and tears and all of the paper and kind of soaking into those. And yeah, that's what I was going for with my Stabilo here. So and then I wanted to put it along some, and I'm looking at this now and I really wish I had just kind of splattered it onto that background a little bit. It's okay that I didn't. I really like what I came up with, but right now in this moment, I'm like, oh, I really should have done some splatter. So next time, y'all. But I'm taking that Stabilo over there and picking it up and just putting it in the spots where I kind of want to see some of that texture. I'm going to bring it, I think, here in the bottom some. Yeah, especially where that I like it in that drywall joint tape because there's so much texture that those holes are fabulous. And I'm trying not to go overboard because it's real easy once I start playing with that Stabilo to just cover the whole thing with it, and I didn't want to do that. So yeah, I'm trying to throw it aside and be like, yeah, stop. And I knew this was getting long, and this is a long video for me, so I am sorry about that. But here's where I'm gonna let you watch me fiddle around a little bit with what am I fiddling here? No, I decided I had this little piece of, I think maybe it's an old linen tablecloth or something that I've had in a coffee dye or a tea dye or something. And I took, I'm trying to remember, I think that was a full 6 strands of embroidery floss. And I am basically just making marks with it. Just stitching along. I did get a little knot on the back and couldn't get it out. So I said, you know what? I'm going to glue this down. Nobody will see it. I'm going to leave it alone. So yeah. Um, I've mentioned it before, but I am a messy maker. And okay, knots on the back of something, that's fine. That's fine. If the knot had been on the front, I think I would have figured out how to work with it too. In fact, this little piece of fabric was fraying all over the place and kind of got the fraying threads kind of got tacked down into some of my stitches here. So yeah. And y'all can tell, I think I've sped this way up because I'm just doing some random, I mean, they're all either vertical or horizontal stitches. Nothing's running diagonal in any means, but I just wanted it to be kind of like some marks. Because most of the things I make have marks in them, and this in the background doesn't really have any unless it was on those papers I put down. And I knew I wanted to use those chip quotes from Tim Holtz. I love those. And almost immediately I found this one that said one of a kind, and for some reason that spoke to me. So I am going to play here with the arrangement of this. Yeah, moving that up and down and all around. And yeah, finally I hit on it here. I'm like, oh, yeah, that works. That's kind of what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and tie off my thread. I had left it hanging there in case I thought I needed some more stitches to maybe put on there. I didn't want to tie it off and then have to make another knot and start over. And oh no. So yeah, I held off. I put a little forethought into it, surprisingly. And now I'm going to try to figure out how to put down that creepy cloth because, y'all, that stuff was fraying on me all over the place and I knew it just needed to be stuck down. So I'm using one of those silicone, like brush. It's not a brush. I don't know what you call it. It's like a silicone spatula thing to get some match on medium. And I spread that directly onto my board and then I'm sticking that cloth into it. So this is going to take me a minute as I use my hand to kind of go over certain areas of it to make sure it's sticking down into that matte medium. And I think I'm even going to I think I splooshed some down somewhere because I know it was an area that took a while. Yeah, right there. It took a while to dry right there. So some of the areas that I knew were going to be a little fiddly, yeah, just spread some matte gel medium on it. All right, so I'm trying to remember what all those the things were I was supposed to put in here. So my black was my creepy cloth. We'll get to the metal in just a minute. And the feather, I'm going to stick down a minute. And then the thread or fiber is what I sewed right there. So I use my embroidery floss as my thread. And so I'm sticking that down again with the matte medium using a palette knife this time. And then I'm also going to use that same palette knife to just put some of that gel medium as I guess as gently as I can, because I didn't want that little feather to stick to itself too much. It was too pretty to like get messed up. And then I'm just again palette knife, gel medium, sticking down my chip quote. I thought about darkening the edges of that, but I changed my mind. All right, so I'm going to put this off to the side and let it dry. Y'all don't have to see that. Oh, I do make sure, because I'd covered up one of my holes. And I'm just using a needle to poke that hole back through, because I'm coming back in with my metal element, which is some 19 gauge black annealed wire. Now, first thing I'm going to do with this is take a tissue or paper towel and clean it just a little bit, because that black annealing comes off on your hands. So I wanted to get that off. And then I'm just going to, well, I'll show you. Kind of just getting a good curve on there, and then putting one end through the front to the back and up. If y'all don't know, my I guess it's not really my real job, but my main craft I do is jewelry making. So using wire, when I saw that metal, I was like, well, obviously I'm going to use some wire for the metal element. So all of this comes natural to me, but I just twisted that wire around a little, cut off the excess, and then I used a pair of like chain nose pliers to kind of flatten down at the end of it so it wasn't too pokey. And then I'm doing the same thing on the other side. I wrapped it up just a little bit more on that side because I wanted it to be kind of wonky and fun. And here I'm showing you that side that's cut, that's poking up, and I'm just pushing it down to make sure it doesn't hurt anybody. And y'all, that's it. I'm going to give you a bunch of pictures of this because I love it. But if you have any questions or need any information, just ask below. And I really appreciate you coming by and watching. Thanks again to Lisa, Tina, Laura, and Melanie for the challenge. I love it. Thanks, y'all. Keep on crafting on. Bye.